But let me mention that as of today, or at the end of May, the balance in that account is actually now 341,000. The district has used up significant amount for paying payroll, processing payroll, all the related issues, and some of the bills as well. If you turn to your page 25, that's the bottom line of the outstanding bills as of the date of this report, which was the 26th. For current year bills, it's 1,216,000. The balance for prior year bills, which is at the end of 24-25, was 181,000. Combined is 1,387,000, almost 1.4 million outstanding at the time of this report.
What red is outstanding?
The total amount, the 1 point,
Now, the red numbers,
All these are outstanding.
they're all outstanding.
what are the, what's red, it's outstanding.
Yes. I mean, we haven't paid them. The district has not paid these bills.
None of these bills, sir, not just, it's because on ours, there's a due date that's red, but every single line item in here is an unpaid bill.
Robert,
That's correct.
are we okay? Because I noticed that we're behind on the commodities. Are we not behind, or we owe one?
We, in some of the items, some of the services and supplies, we are behind significantly. In others, we're catching up. We're treating them as urgency, such as commodities. We must have commodities in place to provide the service. So we'll catch up on those and bring them as current as we possibly can to the funds that the district has available.
Okay,
Again, remember, keep in mind that the loan was primarily to meet payroll. Okay? On a monthly basis, the district is at about $1.5 million in payroll alone. The utilities, one utility came in at about 82,000 last month or so. Electricity, 82,000 a month, phantom that.
So with school ended, it might go down.
We would hope so, but we found that many of the facilities over the weekends, after hours, are open. The gym ran $10,000 last time with this bill. Those 82, $10,000 was in electricity at the gyms at the high school, combined both gyms.
Yeah, it's lower.
But
And people just turn their air conditioning way down.
And people, I don't know who's authorized to use them, or how they manage that. But that's the cost, that's something that needs to be managed.
post battle,
Otherwise, you have no end to it.
post battle asking.
I don't think you have to ask them right now.
Yeah.
It's okay.
On the following pages, on page 27, this report that I provided is very preliminary. We have the summary of finance from TA. It's a template that Mr. Omar Garcia puts together. And the other is, on the side, on column B, is Mulcahy. They do similar items, they pull from the same database. They may manipulate it slightly different, but basically it's the same data. The difference between these two columns is only about $56,000. And those are projections depending on ADA and the FTEs. The tax value at this time that it was used was higher than what's being projected for next year. There's a significant drop in value. Minerals have dropped significantly. Production has dropped. Probably very familiar. So that means that revenue was going to change. Yes, sir.
And go back to page 18. Under written 20, I mean, do we need all that stuff?
That depends on who's asking for the service. There are some commitments that the district needs to be fulfilled, such as the student services, the business office services, and that's the system, their software and the licenses. We have to pay for that. That's to report to TA. So either it's them or somebody else. There are services, training services, other support services that Regions Running puts together. Right about now, maybe about a week or two ago, the district checked off the items that they need for next year. Many of them remain the same. There's a few that did not because they want to save some cost, and I mean the district. These are services that the campuses utilize as well, support services, training, and so forth.
Mr. Velazquez, you told us earlier in the year when we had to pick up the raises for the teachers, you told us that we were gonna have to carry the brunt of that expense, and then TEA would reimburse us.
I didn't say that, your previous superintendent said.
Okay, is that right? I mean,
The
when will the-
calculations that you see here that I was at that page that I was at, that basically includes everything. It included everything back then, August
Okay.
last year. Your previous administrator thought that we would get extra money. I didn't know where that she was coming up with a number, but,
Okay, I apologize.
yeah. But we haven't seen extra money.
Okay.
Sir, in reference to those, that money, the 8,000 and 4,000, has the district started receiving some of those funds, or?
Again, they're part of the formula as a whole, and it's in there as well. You'll see that in here in this formula that I showed you. It's part of the whole ball of wax.
Okay. That's what the teacher retention is, right?
Exactly. Yes, sir.
On SWTX, on those 512 bills that's owed on 611, you can write those off.
I appreciate that. If I could get it in writing, I'd really appreciate it.
No,
And sir,
Thank you.
that's, I mean, now that he brings that up, I know that we received information from the board president regarding some of the bills that we do owe them. Are these part of that, or?
Some of these bills are still there. We haven't seen anything in written form, so I have to let you know in case that doesn't come through. It comes through, it's one, we'll take that. Again, the numbers that I showed you on page 26 and 27 are very preliminary. Those are projected revenues coming in and by different programs. They're very similar. Those two templates will continue to work both templates, and TA has the last work as we finish the year.
They can go down?
It can go down if ADA drops. If the values change, it's per child value as a whole, so it may teeter the contribution from TA from the state and provide a little more money. Again, ADA is very important. Today's ADA was 82%, I think.
Okay.
On page 28, I've got what we currently have allocated. As you can see, the majority is in function 11, which is instructional, which is the function of this business of instruction. That's what TA helps us with. The rest of that pie chart are for different services, different functions. It'll go clockwise. The next function is function 12, and from the local funds, there's nothing allocated there. In other words, they didn't buy new equipment, they didn't buy new books. There was nothing allocated for them. You got curriculum, you got 80,000, and you got 21, function 21, which is instructional leadership, and that's about 96,000. If you look at 23, that's your school leadership. Those are your principal's office, all that cost that is associated with that. The following page is the draft of next year's budget, again, using the revenues that are currently projected against very, very preliminary expenses. Okay? Those will change for sure as payroll changes, as services you asked about Region 20, as we modify those, as the campus asks for more or gives up some services, those will change. Of course, you have utilities that we have to take into account, contract services other than Region 20, fuel cost, things of that nature. There's another section that on the agenda that mentions workshop. I can give you those documents now if you want, spreadsheet, or I can wait till then if you want me to come back.
come back.
Okay.
That's all for the report?
For this report, yes, sir. Like I said, on the budget workshop, I'll give you side by sides, okay?
Yes, because we have Mr. Lopez waiting in the.
Thank you, Robert.
Back to item,
Yeah, number what?
item
70.
70.
Yeah, we're back to item 7D now. It's for the presentation by Mo Casey.
Leo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Awesome. Great. So, so before I get started, um, just want to say thank you for allowing me the time to explain things for you. So my name is Leo Lopez. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Mo Casey, also board member. I'm also head of the school finance consulting arm for Mo Casey. And so I'm here tonight to go over just a general explanation as to the process for holding a Vader approval tax rate election, as well as the efficiency audit and the timeline that goes along with that. I believe in your packets there is a proposal from us to be that auditor, but regardless of whether or not you would choose Mo Casey or another firm, everything that I'm going to present to you would apply. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, and then we can get started, and then we can have questions after that. So, all right. Can you all see that? Yes, you can see it. You can see it.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay.
Now we can't.
Yeah, now it's off.
Was there a questions?
No,
Is it off now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, hold on. What happened there? I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Technology never works when you need it to, right? Okay, I think I know why it turned off, so I'm going to try something slightly different. Hide this. Okay. All right, can you see that now?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So very quickly, just to kind of level set how things work in school finance. So you have several different components of the maintenance and operations tax rates. You have the tier one tax rate, that's often referred to as the MCR, or the maximum compressed tax rate. And then you have the tier two tax rate. So every district has 17 pennies available to them across tier two. There are 8 golden pennies, and then you have 9 copper pennies. So tier one, that's the part that changes that changes year over year. That's based on the greater of state property value growth or local property value growth. So if your local values uh, grow more than 2.5%, or the state average values grow 2.5%, more than 2.5%, then your tier one tax rate decreases, and then the state gives you more state aid to compensate for tier one. So that's ongoing compression. The way it works for tier two and for which includes the 5 cents that you already have, and then and the other 12 cents above that is that as however many pennies you have kind of sit on top of that tier one tax rate. So as your tier one tax rate decreases, your total tax rate decreases, but however many pennies you've levied stays constant. And so that is something that your tier one rate will be determined by the agency at the late July or early August timeframe of each year, and then you all would adopt your tax rate depending on that. Now, in terms of the way a Vader approval tax rate election goes, is of the 8 golden pennies, every district can adopt 5 pennies with just a simple board majority vote. And then anything above those pennies require a tax rate election. Prior to House Bill 3, those were called TREs. I often still refer to them as TREs. They are now referred to as VOTREs or VADERs, voter approval tax rate election. The golden pennies are golden because of the yield is very rich, and if you're a recapture district, you wouldn't pay recapture on that. No, I don't believe you all are a recapture district. And then the copper pennies are called copper pennies because the yield is much less rich than that of the golden yield. And if you're a non-recapture district, then you're guaranteed up to a certain dollar amount per penny per weighted student for each penny that you levy. So as you increase your tax rate, if your voters were to approve a tax rate, then you would generate a little extra revenue per penny, and the state would guarantee that state match up to that amount. So in terms of how many tier two pennies you all currently have, I looked at your summary finances, and you all currently have the five tier two pennies maximum that you can have without going out for a Vader. So you're at the point where if you wanted to increase your rate, you have to go to the voter. So right now, for the 25-26 school year, your tier one tax rate is 0.6669. And then your total tax rate is 0.6669, and then your tier one tax rate is 0.6169. So the way tax compression works, for instance, if the agency were to come to you in July or August 1 and publish your tier one tax rate for 26-27, and they said that your tier one tax rate was an even 60 cents, then you could adopt an M&O tax rate of 65 cents if you were not going out for a Vader, right? So those 5 cents you've already adopted just kind of sit on top as your tier one tax rate declines. And so in terms of going to access new tier two pennies, districts usually have two possible actions. Number one is you hold a Vader, you hold a voter approval tax rate election. The other is much less common. Depending on your county, you might be able to adopt disaster pennies, but there's a lot of criteria which I'll cover. And then those pennies don't last forever anyway, and they expire after a single year. I'll cover the disaster penny information towards the end, because really the main thing that I know y'all wanted to talk about is just sort of the default timeline and the default criteria with the standard Vader election. So just to give you a little context in terms of where your district sits compared to other districts in the state, there's about a third of the districts, about 338 districts, ISDs, are at or below 5 cents. So that is the category that you are currently in. And then this table just shows the breakdown. You have more and more districts have ventured out and held TREs, right? So you've got about 550 districts or so that have gone into the copper penny yield. You have another 43 that have held TREs but have stayed within the 5 to 8 cent golden penny range. So not knowing specifically what your desired range would be in your tax rate, this would just give you some ideas to where you would land with relation to other districts. So nowadays it's getting more and more common for districts to have to go out, hold Vaders to help balance their budget. And then of course you have 87 districts that are right at the maximum. They've adopted the full 17 pennies in their tier two tax rate. Okay, so one of the questions we often get is what is the timeline for holding a Vader and what goes into that? So typically what's involved with a Vader, and every district is different. Some districts start talking about a Vader with their community a year in advance, right? So if you were going out in November of 2026, some would start in the fall of 2025, just having those discussions. Others start in spring. And I've even had a couple of conversations this last month where there are some districts that are considering it, but have not yet begun discussions with their community, and they were planning on doing that in June and July. So it all varies in terms of what's typical, right? There's not really a typical, every community is different. But essentially the first step is to decide amongst yourselves whether or not you hold a community forum or not. That's up to you. But you all as a school board would discuss that either inside a board work session or a public board meeting to discuss whether or not there is a need to go out for a voter approval tax rate election. And so there are some statutory requirements that go along with that. So the first thing is that the way the statute reads, you cannot go past July 4th, 2026, without selecting an auditor to conduct an efficiency audit. Now, the statute uses the word auditor and uses the term efficiency audit, but there's actually no statutory or regulatory requirement for the audit to be conducted by a CPA firm or your independent auditor. They can certainly do that, but auditor is it's a loose term to describe the entity or the group of people that would be conducting the study or report. So it's not an audit in the sense that you would think of your annual financial audit or your annual financial report, but nonetheless, you would have until July 4th in most cases. Now, in certain cases, for districts that are not subject to holding an efficiency audit, that deadline does not apply. But again, that is the exception rather than the rule. So there's a July 4th deadline to select an auditor if you wanted to go out for an election this November. And then similarly, August 17th is the actual deadline this year. If you're a district that's going out for a TRE, you would need to adopt your tax rate by that date. And the reason why there's that date is because there's a statutory limit in statute that says districts need to adopt their tax rate not later than 78 days prior to the election. So if you take November 3rd, which is the last bullet on the slide, which is this year's November uniform election date, all voters have to be held on that date. If you take that date, you back up 78 days, that takes you to August 17th. Now, one of the things you should definitely do if you just had to go this route, reach out to your local tax office and county elections offices about this to get fully informed with when they need all their forms required. And one of the things that Mo Casey does that's a little different, I think, besides some other firms that just do the audit, is we do everything. We help you with your board resolutions for the tax rate resolutions. We help you ensure that your tax rate is adopted correctly in compliance with the agency's new maximum compressed tax rate. So we make sure that you submit your LPVS survey to the agency by the required deadlines. We work with the district that we're doing these for. We help them with their revenue projection. So if you want to have different scenarios, like if you want to say, well, I want to see my revenue, with 3 additional pennies, and then with an additional 7 pennies, and then with additional 12 pennies, or whatever scenarios you want to see before deciding what your rate is, we can help you do that. We can help your finance office, your superintendent, put together independent verification as to the revenues that would be generated by those different tax rate scenarios. And then we essentially walk you every step that you would need to take in order to get the tax rate ordinances and all paperwork you need to get done to the tax county elections office to make sure you don't miss any sort of deadline. So we act sort of as a Sherpa in that process. Now, if you're not going to go out for a TRE, then your deadline for adopting a tax rate is no later than September 30th or 60 days after receiving the certified roll, which is typically July 25th. Most districts tend to adopt their tax rate by August 31, right? But if you are going to go for TRE, it's got to be no later than 8/17. So you also need to back up, the normal posting deadlines for posting a hearing for the budget and tax rate adoption. So keep those timelines in mind in terms of posting in the local newspaper. The statute also says that the efficiency audit has to be completed and posted to your website no later than 30 days prior to the uniform election date. So for this year, that would be October 3rd. We often recommend that you hold a public hearing the day that you post it on your website. So that's typically would be the day that we would present the findings of the efficiency audit to you all. And that's just so that you don't post the report and it's just out there without any sort of public discussion at the same time. And that way you can have some context and have some discussion the same day that it's posted. And in terms of what goes into efficiency audit, so there's sometimes a little bit of confusion as to what an efficiency audit report represents. And so the Legislative Budget Board actually puts out guidelines that's very specific in terms of what the format of the data and what types of information is in the report, right? So a lot of times districts come back or taxpayers might come back and say, well, was my district efficient? Like, what did the audit find? That's not necessarily the I won't say that's not the point of it, but that's not necessarily immediately teased out from the required format because the state is very prescriptive with the information in that report, and there's going to be a lot of comparisons with your selected peer districts in various categories there, but we do go the extra mile and we do provide the opportunity and for you all to provide some additional qualitative data in addition to the statutorily required quantitative data. This requirement was put into place with House Bill 3 in 2019. It compares your district with 5 to 10 peers. We work with you to select similar districts along key demographic, financial, and other factors. And then again, this is not an audit like your independent financial audit. There's no opinion issued in the audit. There's no opinion at the end of the report that requires an auditor to say whether or not a district is efficient. That's not something that is typically required or produced as part of the actual report. And we did provide to your administration a sample efficiency audit, so you can take a look in your packets as to what that would look like. In terms of Vader communications, we would strongly recommend that you review TASB Legal Services as a guide as to what's allowed and what's not during these sorts of elections. You want to you just very high level summary. You do not want to use public funds to advocate or influence any sort of voter behavior. You cannot have any calls to action or value statements. You can't have any presentations that say, we need this to pass or else this would happen. It needs to be very neutral and fact-based communication to your public. So it's purely factual. No, nothing, say, we have to do, you all need to approve this. Otherwise, XYZ is going to happen. That's something that could get you into trouble. And so this slide just shows a number of cases where the Attorney General's office has sued various districts for electioneering, or when people have accused various districts of communication or messaging that is walking the line or crossing the line in terms of what the state would call electioneering. They take that very seriously. So we want to make sure that any communication about a potential voter is purely factual. Some few frequently asked questions that we get. Does the TRE have to be in November? Yes, as far as we can tell, and we haven't been able to find any sort of legal opinion that would indicate that you could do this at any other time. It has to be in the November uniform election date. Another question is, can I wait to use all of the approved pennies until maybe the following year? Maybe you go out for 17 pennies and then you get them approved, but maybe you only really need 9. Can I bank the other 8 pennies and save them for later? No, you can't. You have to go and use them or lose them, so to speak. And so that's one thing, however many pennies you go out for this year, then I strongly suggest that you adopt them and you keep them. If you drop them at a later date, you will have to go back out to the voters to re-adopt those pennies. So it's not an authorization, or it's not a perpetual authorization. It's a authorization that can go away if you decide to drop those pennies or forego those pennies. Another question we get along a lot is, can I make my INS tax rate conditional on the passage of my TRE? In other words, tell the voters that, hey, if my Vader passes, then I will drop my INS rate. But if the Vader fails, I will increase my INS rate. So the tax rate's the same either way. And if we're not lawyers, we would suggest you get with your lawyer. We've seen districts try to do that. It's something that I'm not comfortable making an opinion on, because again, I'm not an attorney and I would not be the firm. We would not be the firm defending you in case there was a challenge on that practice. So if that's something you all are considering, I would get with your general counsel, your bond counsel, outside counsel to get their own formal legal opinion. Disaster pennies, I don't think this applies here, but very quickly, just in case you're curious, because we got a general question as to how the process works. If there is a disaster that impacted your district, that it was declared in your county, and then you had to actually levy funds, or you had to expend funds in response to the disaster, then there are some provisions in statute that would allow you potentially to forego the requirement for a Vader and or for an efficiency audit, although it's very unlikely that that's ability in your case. This is just a temporary alternative way to access those pennies. But there's also differences of opinion as to, the statute says it's the year following the year in which a disaster happens. It's not clear if that's tax year or school year. So depending on whether that applies or would apply again, and it's only good for 1 year. And so there was a recent disaster that covered most of Texas in January of this year, and it covered almost all of Texas except South Texas. However, governor's office did not request federal aid, and so because of that, uh, you are not eligible for it. In terms of, you're not eligible for the exemption from the efficiency audit requirement. So to this point, the governor's office has not requested federal aid, and that is the trigger for some of those things. So, and there's also some certain disasters that qualify and some don't. So the statute says that there's a couple of different types of disasters, and not all of them are not all of them qualify. So, for example, the disaster must not be a drought, epidemic, or pandemic, right? So that's number one. Anything else like flood or fire would count as an example, or windstorm, perhaps. But then it's got to actually impact the district. You actually have to have an outlay of expenditures in response to a disaster. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, the governor would have had to request federal disaster assistance in which the district is located. So, uh, so apart from that, again, that's more like the exception, not the rule. That's generally how the time frame would work. And so again, whatever auditors you're considering, you would need to approve this month, really, in order to be able to go forward with the process. And with that, I'll stop and open it up for questions.
Does anybody have questions? I guess, the efficiency study, will it only be looking at our financial side, or is it all across the district operations and everything?
It's mainly looking at finances. There are a few things in there that most of the audit uses PEMS data. So once we work with you to identify the peers that you want to be compared against, we look at things like your tax rate. We look at your your median home value. We do plug in some things in terms of your ratings, right? In terms of like I said, the LVB prescribes a format. So whatever auditor you choose, it's going to look very similar because it has to include a bunch of elements. But we do include some accountability ratings for each campus within the district, as an example. We would include demographic information just on the characteristics of the peer districts, but it's mainly it's financial. We're not really looking at operations. Again, this is all information that most of the data we gather from PEMS, right? So this is not something where we go and it's all done remotely. So everything on the audit we can do from Austin. And so again, it's all pulling all the data that we get from the PEMS financial actual report. So for this engagement, were we to be selected, we would be looking at PEMS data that just got published in the 24-25 financials, right? Because 25-26, even though the school year is winding down or has finished, the financial year, that data has not been reported to the agency yet. So there's a little bit of a lag in terms of the data, but that's the most recent data that we have available to us in PEMS. But I believe your packet contains a sample of what our report would contain. But again, it's mainly financial information, and we do look at some ratios in terms of student and staff counts and student and teacher ratios and things like that as well. And we look at operating expenditures in different categories, right? And things like that. But we don't really look at operations the way I think you're thinking.
Yeah. Is there a possibility that the study finds that a Vader is not required or not a good time to go out for a Vader?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Is there
Right.
is there just a possibility that the study finds that, a Vader is not good for our district?
Oh, okay. I'm going to restate the question to make sure I understand it. You're saying that, let's say, if you engage with us or any other firm, and then later on in July, you change your mind and you decide not to proceed with the Vader,
No, I
can,
mean, like, after you do the efficiency study, I mean, you're gonna be looking at all of our finances. And if you find that the district has not exhausted all options, and is working at the most efficient, status, you don't recommend a Vader because the district hasn't really put in work.
Well, I'll respond this way is that we are not going to issue an opinion one way or the other that tells you whether or not you should go out for a Vader. That's not number one, that's not the that's not the focus of the report.
Okay.
The focus of the report is really to meet the statutory requirements of certain comparisons. And then we won't be issuing an opinion that says whether or not you are quote unquote efficient for a number of reasons, because we're in public education and we're not in a business of producing, I'll just use the word widgets, right? And so efficient, it's easy to, you can quantify what your cost is to produce X widget, like, right? Can you do that cheaper, right? Or faster? But we're not producing widgets, right? We're molding young minds. And I say it's the districts, we are, OKC is in a support role, right? But you all, right? Your school district. And so we don't like to use the term efficient with regards to the delivery of instruction, because there's certain value propositions that you all might decide to be a little more inefficient because doing so is necessary to provide the required instructional supports for your particular student population. So even though we do our best to try to compare your district to like districts to similar districts, not every district is identical, right? So when we get through with this process, we're going to give you a report that looks exactly like the sample you have in your packet, except all the data is going to be your data. It's going to be up to you all to decide really whether or not you need the Vader. And I'll be honest, what I'll say is that the Vader for you all, I think the decision should be you all may look at the report and look at I don't know what the data would find. And there might be some ratios that stick out to you all that say, hey, we are an outlier in this ratio. Like for instance, you might be overstaffed in one category or not. You might be understaffed. I don't know. But yeah, you all might decide to go through the audit report and decide, you know what, there's too many unanswered questions. We're going to pause on the Vader and we're going to go and investigate, well, why are we high here or why are we low here, right? That's kind of the point of the efficiency audit. But Mo Casey is not going to be presenting to you on October 3rd saying we think you should do the proceed or not. That's going to be a judgment call that you all are going to have to make. And frankly, part of that will your 26-27 budget or your budget position in terms of whether you have a projected surplus or deficit with or without the Vader is often a bigger consideration than the results of the audit itself. And just because you might find some things in the audit that you might want to go pursue and say, well, we need to see if if we can improve. But that doesn't mean that you don't go forward with the Vader. That means you still might go forward with the Vader, but then you still look at those inefficiencies if you think there are some and look to do that. But whether or not you decide to go with the Vader after the results, that's completely something that you all are going to have to decide on your own as a board.
To answer your question, sir, you mentioned that a lot of the information you guys get from PEEMS. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes, we get from the agency, yes.
Yes, I understand it comes from the agency. In your contrasting of the information from different years, if you find maybe some contradictions in the information, do you guys point out this stuff as a benefit? Because the better we handle the proper coding, the more efficient we'll be in generating income and therefore providing instruction to our kids.
Yes, if we see anything in the financials that stick out to us as being odd or peculiar, we'll definitely point that out. And I think the way we do the comparisons, that'll easily come out. That's the other thing. If we find something that was the result of like a PEEMS error or something in 24, 25, but your current data, shows that to be different, we can always add supplementary information in the appendix or in the footnotes, indicating that, we believe that there was some sort of error in 24-25, and using current data, the district's ratios would look like XYZ, right? So that's always something that we could explore if needed. But yeah, so if we see something that bears calling now, we would definitely call that out.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody has any more questions.
No, sir.
Joe, do you have anything to add or anything?
So Leo, we do have this as an action item later in this meeting, just FYI.
Okay, great. Yeah. Just let me know if you need anything else from me. Otherwise, is my portion of this evening's program complete then?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, have a good evening and good luck with your decision. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Seeing that we are on action item 7D, we can take action if we need to move forward.
That would be my
What's your
recommendation. Yes. I think we need to act on this quickly so we can get things rolling.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the engagement of the Moore Casey firm to conduct an efficiency audit related to the district's financial and operational review process associated with consideration of potential voter approval, tax ratification, election vouchering, and authorize the superintendent to execute all necessary documents and agreements.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bonilla? Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. You guys have looked at the financial part, what's gonna be the cost that they're presenting, are you satisfied with the cost? I got some figures, but I don't know if you guys have had any contact with them. Would there be any changes to the fees?
No, I think their fees are set. It's pretty high. They are the recommended firm for this.
So you are comfortable with the fees to a degree?
I'm comfortable with the Casey. The fees, it's a hard number to swallow considering our financial situation, but considering what they can do to help us get this better information so we can accurately report to the community and make a sound decision on the tax rate that the Vader will be set at, I think is paramount.
The Vader pretty much make up even more so, like, compared to the fees.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have money today per se, but getting the right information so we know what to set our tax rate to make sure that we have the revenue this time next year, assuming the Vader passes. Yes, I think it's money well spent.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody have any more questions or anything?
Dr. Reyna, do you have anything?
No? All in favor? All against? Motion carries 7-0.
Yes.
Just a little over my head. I mean, complicated to me, but I'm for it.
Okay,
She was just saying that it's a little complicated for her, I mean, a little overhead, but she's for it,
It's just
moving
a
forward.
lot.
So now we'll go back to item 6C, the superintendent's report.
since the chief appraiser is here,
Is she here?
Can I have,
Yeah.
I was looking for her, I don't see her out there anymore.
oh, I thought I saw her back there.
Boss.
Okay, maybe I just was seeing something behind chief. All right, so yes, we can go to superintendent report. Item C. 5C. 6C. It's a handout.
Okay.
So it's really brief, and considering lateness of the evening. I think you can read it, an update on enrollment and attendance. There's a copy of my town hall meeting presentation. Ray had asked for the 5 years of fund balances. That's in here, Ray. The legal reports, which is a standing report that was originally asked by Peggy 2 months ago. I've just made that a standing report. The main thing here that I want to announce is the last day for teachers to resign is June 30th. So that's 29 days from now. And I'll be out of the office next week. That's my report.
Anyone have questions or anything regarding the report? Item 6D, tax collections on property appraisals. I guess.
So I met with the chief appraiser last week, mainly. She said she's doing the best she can on collections. She said it's up to the board, but one of her thoughts is to put in the newspaper, all the all the people who aren't paying their taxes. She said that's been done in the past. I know I've seen that done in other school districts I've worked in. It shames people publicly. That's something that she felt like might motivate some people to pay their taxes.
She would also include that, by this time, I mean, you're getting 15% penalty on what you owe, and it's gonna affect them more. But it's needed.
Well, we're desperate for money, so, maybe be my recommendation to wait until after the Vader election. Just saying, you want everybody on our side right now. That's just a political commentary.
So move on to 6E,
Okay,
preliminary budget for the.
sure. So again, I met with the chief appraiser. We are the biggest contributor to their budget. The budget is going up. She did say, and I was actually quite surprised, and I will report to the board that she said if the board rejects her budget, that would give her motivation to release at least one employee in their office, which would decrease their budget some. So she also commented that there's a couple board members, school board members that are on the CAD board also. So it was my interpretation that the CAD board wanted to support the budget, but she was willing to drop the budget if the school board would reject the budget. So that would be my recommendation, action.
My recommendation would be that, I mean, that we also not accept the raises that she's given to.
Well, all we can do is accept or reject the budget. We can't modify the budget. So it's kind of like recommendations from the superintendent, you accept or reject. So my recommendation to the board is to reject the budget and then let her go back to the drawing board and then present to her board a revised budget.
And I know some of the budget increase or her increase were raises, which she was stating was cost of living increases. There were some questions that the board kind of had regarding the increases. So they're going to present something different. We actually have a board meeting tomorrow, so there's something that they're going to present tomorrow.
Well, I can tell you in all my years, I've not had a chief appraiser say, reject my budget. So I felt like that was a very honest attempt that she's willing to do her part for the overall health of the school district, since we are the #1 contributor to their budget.
Okay, let's see if I heard you right. In your discussion with her, she said that if the board rejected the budget presented, that she would go back to her office and drop it appraiser. I hear you right?
That's what she said. Now, we don't have that authority.
No, I understand.
We have to reject. I just was shocked that she was willing to cough that up.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that's what I heard.
So she'll present another preliminary budget.
So if it's rejected, she'll have to revise and present to her board.
Which will happen tomorrow.
Okay,
I know timeline-wise, it's kind of pretty close whenever they have to adopt the budget, sometime right now in June, I believe.
Can I speak to Ms. Yolanda?
She's not here.
She's not here.
She's out.
she was here, but
Okay.
but I'll contact her office tomorrow with whatever decision y'all want to make.
Does anybody have a question? It's on the board, it's on the agenda for an action item, so at that time we'll take action, but,
Your recommendation was to reject
well,
That's my recommendation to
the
the,
motion.
yes.
well, we're not under that item right now, we're under informational items,
Oh,
but we'll come back to it to be able to take action on it.
Oh, we're not at the action item yet?
Not at the action item, and we're still under informational items. And they were going to,
Oh, okay, D, right, that was D. All right.
we were on 6E actually. So now we're on 6F, the budget workshop. Mr.
Mr. Palaskis.
1 minute.
What I want to provide you is the data that is in the pie charts.
See how that pie chart is made up of.
This is simply a side-by-side. Here's the current year, and these are just simply the 100 funds, the state and local funds. On page 1 of 6, so there's a dash missing on the page numbers down there, but it's 1 of 6, not page 16. The first section says 25, 26 adopted. The appropriations are there right on the numbers, or the ones on the right-hand side of that section. And then, of course, the 26, 27 is the one right next to it.
So, on the page 28, that's the actual expenditures for the year. That's of what date?
Page 28.
Oh, he's looking at
You're
the,
looking at,
Pie chart.
Keep press.
yeah. Oh, you're looking at this, I thought you were looking at the pie chart.
what we're going over is the actual budget workshop.
Same thing as what's on the pie chart.
This is the complete pie chart, just makes it a little visual for you. If you look at that, you've got, the first item is the zeros, which is the transfers out. That 85,000 is the funds that the general fund has to appropriate, pay on the bond that the district got at $1 million 2 years ago, back 2016, I think it was, for the, what is the name of it? I forget the name of it. It was for Benito Juarez and the additional monies that the district needed. Function 11 is all your instructional, and you've got that broken down by payroll, purchases and contracts. 62, 63 is supplies, and then operating costs, which is travel and the such, and then of course capital outlay. Those side by side, you'll notice the difference between those two is 3,600,000 less in a proposed side, okay? And again, these are very preliminary numbers, but this is the direction the revenues that are projected right now are taking the expenses to. In other words, this is what the dollars that are showing up can possibly afford. This can change from function to function depending on the need and the consideration of the board. The board has the last say on that. You have instructional resources, which is a library. Both years, we're not projecting anything from the general and local funds. The next one is 13. The difference went from 80,000 to 30. A shortfall now of 50,000 for next year, okay? Then you've got instructional leadership on the following page. That is covered at about $10,000. It's a smaller budget, but again, it takes out about 10%. School leadership, which is your principal's office, that drops at about 992%. And most of that cost is associated with payroll costs. The difference in those 2 years is at about 990,000. You've got guidance and counseling, which is function 31. That drop is at about 254,000. Attendance and social services, a change there would be about 128,000. Health services would drop at about 118,000 from the prior year, from the current year. Then you've got pupil transportation, which is our buses, so forth. That would drop about 255,000. And then you've got food service. Now let me mention something about food service. Food service is in this document because we call it a 100 fund because it's a community, I forget the term again for that one. What is it? The community, we're fully funding the program, so to speak. Everybody qualifies for the food service program. CEP, thank you. That one is in here because it's a 100 fund. If it was strictly free and reduced, it would be called, it would fall under the 240 code fund. Okay? That's why it's in here. But it pretty much is a self-sustaining program. The following page starts with your co-curricular activities. That drops by about 460,000. Again, I don't mean to scare you, but these are planning numbers. They will change. They will definitely change. Okay. And then you've got administration, that drops by about 617,000. Plant, maintenance and operations, which is our maintenance and custodial staff, that drops at about $1.2 million. Beyond that, you've got security and monitoring, the following page. That drops to about half the money, drops by about 300,000. You've got data processing, that drops 321,000. Community services, these drops all together because we don't have anything just next to it proposed, okay? Or nothing has been brought to light. The last page is function 71, that's your debt service. You'll notice the current year is at 1,479,100. That's the loan the district secured last year. That was the cost this year, okay? That was to just barely get over the finish line last year. This year, we've now secured the 4.5. The additional 740,000 is the additional cost of interest and fees. So that's an additional cost of about $3.2 million. That has to be identified there to make payment next year. We start paying interest this month on it. For 3 months, we'll pay interest. It's about $56,000 in the period. The new facilities, that $200,000 now is not going to be showing up next year. And fiscal agent, that's $43,000. And then you've got other governmental entities, which is the appraisal district. And that might be lower depending on what you guys decide and what their board decides as well. That will change. Overall, the reduction from the current year to next proposed is about $6.5 million reduction. And this will change depending on the revenues that we get in. If we get a Vader, of course, there'll be more funds available, more funds to allocate, more funds to pay off debt. This does not include paying off the current running debt, that maintenance and operation debt. Okay? That would have to come off the top, which means this gets reduced by that amount. Okay? You don't have that money available to you if you're paying prior year debt, which is what this school year experienced because of last year. This year paid for last year's debt, and it's still paying on some. It still has a small balance on it, as I showed you on the report earlier.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
When will the last budget amendment be brought before us?
We have been wanting to do a budget amendment for a while now. I'm referring to the business office. We're asked to wait. We need to implement one because we have to incorporate the loan proceeds that we just got. We have to account for them. And those fees that are associated, which is the bank fees and the interest fees. We need to make one very soon, probably next month, and update projected revenues because they're not coming in like the taxes. and what we project that TA is either gonna supply or not provide
But for the current year.
current year.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the budget we adopted August 27, 2025, and our projected revenues was $26,451 or something like that. It was $26,451,000.
And we have to tell you, we're not doing that.
And projected expenses was $26,420,103, and we were supposed to end up with a positive balance of $31,000. So that's why I'm asking about the amendment, because according to this, we only expended about $22 million of expenses.
Expended?
But that's why you listed things here, I've been trying to,
I'm gonna hand you where we are current, actuals against
Yeah, that's-
budget. What I was showing you there earlier is simply a proposed document, which
I understand that you also show.
This was gonna be the actual, so we're at actual as of today. Probably as of Friday, because this was posted on Friday in the book. Closed.
That's what I want to see, I want to see the.
the first column that says annual budget, that was, basically was adopted. There's the 31,000 at the bottom. That was the projected revenue over expenditure. The previous administration made modifications to the budget, as well as the district has incurred different expenses that were not necessarily in budget, but still incurred them. That would be your year-to-date actual. Encumbrances are bills that are in the system that we know of that have not been paid yet. It doesn't equal exactly the list, but pretty much most of those numbers are there, okay? I don't think some of the junior college bills are on this encumbrance, okay?
So what you're giving us as of May, so we still expecting some revenue to come in before the end of the budget year?
I believe this, last month, the appraisal district collected about $55,000 in taxes. About half of that goes to the debt service fund and the other half goes to the
Understand, so-
operation.
So we could conceivably meet the projection of 26 million in revenue. Just, that's what we adopted.
Well, you may have adopted $1 trillion, but you're not getting it.
Well, you should have known that, you were the major.
I should have known that.
You constructed this budget.
Your ADA has come in horribly. Your tax collections, that's why you asked for a report, is embarrassing. What they projected and what we collected last year was nothing compared to this year. Okay? So we made projections. The ADA that the previous administration provided to TA was at 1,425. The reports that I showed you, the agency, Moken Casey is one of those, is projecting 1,100. You've lost about 300 kids, Mr.
In 1 year.
Yes, sir. So how do we come up with the numbers? We go on projections, and the district did not meet anything of its goal. It's been declining. Where expenses have been going up, expenses such as the electrical that I mentioned earlier, that you can't manage. That's a leaky faucet happening every day. You need to manage that. Otherwise, any number on paper is really just a paper with ink on a scribble on a paper. You have to manage it. And if you continue to approve things, costs, they're not budgeted and are not projected correctly, you'll have this, and which is what you've had in history. Years prior, it was managed differently. You had money in the bank, you have nothing in the bank. I don't know if I can put it any clearer to you. Is that clear enough?
No,
Do you have any questions?
On the state progress revenues, Robert, on 58. Second one on revenues,
Correct.
you have 10,000,
No, that was 10 million.
10 million.
Those are based on numbers that were projections, and again, those numbers are not gonna come in. Currently, last payment from TA for two different funds is approximately $1.2 million. It's not gonna settle at that money because we haven't generated the ADA for them to pay us. So honestly, I can tell you, we don't believe we're gonna get that money, that closeout. They'll do a settle up with whatever we generate at the end of the year, and right now, like I said, last school day was like at 82% in attendance
The settle-up comes in
in August.
August, right? I know last year,
Gets 3 payments, September, October, and the final one is in August.
no, I know last year we rolled over, or this year, rolled over about $500,000 in debt from the year before.
Actually, more than that, so you're right, but it was more than that. Now, the district is paying on a bi-monthly basis. Last year, we found money under the cushions to meet payroll for the middle of September, because the money from the state doesn't show up until the end of the month. Okay? That is pretty much what we're gonna have to do again this year.
So from TA, we get monies, at the beginning of school year, but they don't come in October. You're saying?
For the new year, TA will provide 3 payments, September and October, and they generally do that because that's the start of the school year, and tax
But it doesn't come
revenues
in.
don't come in probably until the end of October, November, and so forth,
And the other one?
in August. So we have nothing in January and the rest of the year from TA. We'll get monthly small installments, about $50,000-$60,000 from the available school fund. The major fund, the foundation program, comes in 3 payments, September, October, and August.
Did we ever get paid on the teachers that got the $6,000?
I mentioned that earlier when you asked. That is the whole ball of wax. In those 3 payments, that money is in there. There's no additional check that's gonna show up for that extra money.
But,
It's part of the whole.
but we did extra. But we did get what?
Well, that depends how we finish the year, how much.
No, they won't, but I mean, we spend,
You spend it.
well, we spend on giving the teachers their
Yes,
raise, and you're kind of saying that we wanna get it.
I'm saying that it's part of the entire dollar number, that entire ball of wax of funding from TA is incorporated in there. It's not gonna be a separate
Let me
check.
try to explain. All right, so the pay raises the state guaranteed the teachers to get, and we were forced to pay, we pay. But they don't send us dollar for dollar that amount that's legislatively required. It's put in a funding formula, and that funding formula is affected by our enrollment, our ADA. And so oftentimes, we get shorted, and this isn't just Crystal City, this is other schools.
That's what I'm trying to say.
You know,
Spend so much, but we're not gonna get it.
so, you know, it's misunderstood by our teachers, and I say teachers everywhere and in the general public, because they see the legislature says, oh, we gave every teacher this raise, and we're required to give that raise, but they're supposed to fund it to us, but they fund it through a funding formula, which is highly dependent on our ADA.
Oh, I thought it was automatic.
so Robert, right now, with these projections that you put here, are they taking into account the fact that we're gonna be, for what I understand, the settle up is done in September, and the first payment,
What, settle it?
the settle up is done in September. That's what I was,
Chris is talking about this year, they're gonna settle up in August.
this year it's gonna be in August.
They're gonna start settling up.
Oh wait, but that would be the 3rd payment
Yes. So we may have less money than anticipated.
for this current year.
Correct.
So we're gonna be short 300 times whatever it is per student.
Right. Years past, the settlement would be maybe even in March of the following year. They did it differently. They're bringing the data closer. the submission, such as the agencies like Moak and Casey and Omar's out of TA, the data from PEMS is more fresh, it's fresher, it's current, so they're generating better numbers, so they don't advance districts' money for too long, and they try to settle up before the year. So they're moving that timeframe, that finish line closer.
But that settle up is,
How will we get paid for utilizing Blue Bonnet?
I don't know that now, I don't know if it's via a grant,
it's in the lift grant, it's in your pack.
if it's a lift grant.
I just didn't know how they,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, pretty much all grants, you spend it out of the general fund, submit the request for reimbursement, and they review it in accordance to the criteria that the grant was written, then they reimburse you. There are items sometimes that are not meeting the criteria, and the district just flipped the tab for that expense. It came out of the general fund. Something they weren't expecting, but that's the bottom line.
As you're working on the budget, are you looking to structure it, or we don't have to depend on loans for?
It's gonna be another year. This coming year, if the Vader passes, it will be very useful to set off payment on all the delinquents that we have in outstanding bills. That having been said, we may be able to start settling the debt service payments that we have, start that momentum, which we need to get started soon.
Okay, just to summarize what you have here, this is budget workshop number 1. We'll have budget workshop number 2 in July. So today, Mr. Hines and Dr. Reyna were working with the principals and Robert, and they actually were working on their actual budgets. So these are just assumption numbers, okay? These are just assumption numbers, so they're gonna change next month, and you're gonna say, hey, why did these change? Because we didn't have all the input from the principals yet when we built this. This is just a roadmap and the starting point to the discussion to the eventual adoption of the budget in August, at the August 10th board meeting. Thank you, Robert.
One more thing that Molten Casey mentioned, Leo mentioned, if they go for a Vader, the budget approval has to happen before the norm that the district has entertained.
August 17th, right?
Yes.
So we need to shoot for the 10th of August, which is our regular board meeting.
Thank you.
So you're saying move on to item H.
Yes, I can make this real short.
I'm gonna move on to item 6H.
Okay, if you'll just turn to page 62 in your board packet real quickly. Page 62 in your board packet. I know everybody's tired. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. All right, so when I discovered that we had these IRS penalties that we had to pay, first thing I wanted to look at is our audit. And so went back to 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021 audits, and there's a specific questionnaire where it asks, did the school district make timely payments to the teacher retirement system, the Texas Workforce Commission, and the Internal Revenue Service? And the word yes is there. And so on page 62 is the email that I sent Mr. Edie, our auditor, questioning him about why he didn't catch these mistakes. And he said, well, this is a self-report by the school district, and I challenged him on that, and I cited education code on his requirements, because all governmental entities, not just school districts, have to have an independent audit. That's to protect the taxpayers from fraud, all right? And so if the business office is doing something fraudulent or something innocent, but it's a mistake nonetheless, it should be found, it should be publicly noted to the board in a report, and then it needs to be filed at TEA. And so he basically wiped his hands and said he's not responsible for finding stuff like that. And I can tell you, I totally disagree with this. And so while this isn't an action item tonight, I am going to recommend next month that we look for bids for a new auditor. Wouldn't hurt having new eyes on our books anyhow, considering what we've discovered this year and what we're learning to be true. It would be good to have another auditor. So regardless of his comments, I'd be making a recommendation, but he didn't have the courage to reply to that email because he knew I cornered him in writing. So I'm making that a public statement for everybody to hear.
Anybody have questions on that, or?
No, but sure, it ends up in our next agenda. Advertise for a new independent auditor.
Yeah, I'm going to make a recommendation there.
So his lack of bringing that to our attention reflects on our first rating that it's not.
Absolutely. We're going to fail our first rating because of this. We'll get another F
Yeah,
just because of that.
yeah,
You should have found it,
yeah.
but we found it on our own because IRS contacted us wanting money. But
One quick question, have we already placed anything, some kind of control, to prevent this from happening again?
Well, part of the auditor's report is to recommend internal controls. I challenged him where he was recommending internal controls, and he didn't. He didn't reply.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Conservator Reyna and I have been conversing about internal controls. We've talked about internal controls, but I'm also looking for an auditor to make some recommendations on what we can do in our business office, on internal controls. And basically, it's having two people verify every dollar. Okay, that's the basic internal control. So then that way, one person makes a mistake, the other person, if two people are making a mistake, it's either they're incompetent or they're in collusion with one another doing something wrong. And so that's the internal control, is having two people verify accounts.
Is that all for that item?
Yes, sir.
Move on to item 6J. CC Mars.
Okay, Sarah, you're on deck.
Mr. Fernandez, do you want to put up the presentation? This came, good evening, and this came out of a question that I believe Mr. Mata had about CCMR outcomes bonuses. So the presentation that you have in front of you is straight from TEA's presentation and Region 20's presentation. I just cut some of the slides because then they got a little technical with the math. So what is CCMR outcomes bonuses? Funding designed to reward school systems for preparing students for college, career, military readiness. This is also to reward schools for students taking a step further by enrolling in post-secondary institutions, completing a credential, or enlisting in the military. This came out of House Bill 3, the 86th Legislature, 2019. The TEA annually awards districts for CCMR outcomes funding. Based on the number of annual graduates who demonstrate college, career, or military readiness in the excess of a threshold for 3 groups: annual graduates who are economically disadvantaged, annual graduates who are not economically disadvantaged, and annual graduates who are enrolled in a special education program. How do we get CCMR outcome bonuses? Number one, the students demonstrate college readiness. They must earn an associate's degree or meet Texas Success Initiative criteria and enroll at a post-secondary institution immediately following high school. Second, career ready, they meet TSI criteria and earn an industry-based certification or earns a level 2 or level 1 or level 2 certificate. Or 3, they demonstrate military readiness by enlisting in the U.S. Armed Forces or the Texas National Guard.
Just very quickly, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about seniors.
Seniors.
Okay.
Yeah. But all throughout, starting freshman year, we're collecting the data, using, and I'll get to it in a little bit more in detail, using the CCMR tracker. So we already have a lot of information for this next senior class. I'll get to that in a second. So districts receive the amounts for qualifying graduates that exceed the threshold performance for each group. We're looking at the cohort of economically disadvantaged. Funding per qualifying graduate in excess of the threshold is $5,000. The threshold of annual graduates has to be 11%. When we're looking at non-economically disadvantaged, the funding is $3,000. The threshold is 24%. When it comes to special education, the funding is $4,000. There is no minimum threshold.
The threshold means that there has to be 11% of economically disadvantaged
Yes.
students
Yeah.
in the district or that are.
In the class, in the cohort. So then the criteria for TSIA, SAT, and ACT, which demonstrate college readiness. When we look at TSIA, they must get a greater than or equal to a 351 on reading, and a greater than or equal to 350 on mathematics. We're looking at SAT, greater than or equal to 480 on the evidence-based reading and writing, and then a greater than or equal to 530 on mathematics. We're looking at ACT, greater than or equal to 19 on the English, and greater than or equal to the 23 composite. Mathematics, greater than or equal to a 19, and greater than or equal to a 23 composite. So, CCMR outcomes funding in the summary of finance report is based on qualifying graduates from 2 years prior. So, right now, we're 2026, we're looking at the 2024 graduates. Sometime this month, we will receive the CCMR verifications report. We have to go through each student from 2024, make sure that everything for those students from that 2024 class is correct. We won't see 2026 for another 2 years. So we've always been asking, okay, when are we going to see a difference? Well, keep in mind that our counselors and our high school principal have been working on improving CTE and CCMR at high school for the past 2-3 years. We're not going to see that difference until maybe we might see a difference this year or next year. So it's always 2 years behind. What are we doing as a district? CCHS and district office designee review the CCMR verification report. CCHS receives a CCMR tracker for all current cohorts. This tracker shows all students, special programs, shows that we already have received a CCMR credit, shows us TSIA math and reading data, dual credit, level 1, level 2 certificates, AA degrees, on-ramps, which we don't have any on-ramps, and it'll start showing us if a student already has qualified for the OB, the Outcomes Bonus College, and the OB career. It'll start showing us that data as well. What does the tracker look like? That is exactly what it looks like. What I did was I took off any student identifying information, so what you see is just the data that we see. What do we do with the CCMR tracker? The CCMR tracker is to be utilized to plan ahead and ensure that we are preparing students to be college and career ready. And we have students that have not yet received an IBC. Counseling staff can use a tracker to ensure that the student is on a pathway to earn that IBC by placing them in the courses needed for the IBC. And right now, all of our CTE pathways are aligned. So at the end of the school year, the student can take a test and then they receive the career readiness credit. If a student has taken multiple dual credit courses, then the student can be tracked as of 9th grade to be on the pathway to earn an AA senior year. This year, I believe we had 5 seniors receive their associate's degrees.
Receive what?
Their associate's degrees? I
10.
believe it was five? Five.
Got 10.
Huh, 10? Okay, then my number was off. If a student has taken the TSIA and missed the assessment in either reading or math by a few points, the student can be receiving tutorials or enrichment for TSIA assessment. We should be starting the TSIA tutorials by 8th grade to expose students to these assessments, which I know, just based personally on my son, he's already been working on the math TSIA as an 8th grader with Dr. De La Cruz. I believe they're scheduled to take that test this coming week as 8th graders, so that hopefully they can come in as freshmen. And there's a large group of them. They can go in as freshmen, already having been exposed to that test. Then they'll start working on the reading section as well. And then the other page that I included was CCMR accountability versus outcomes bonuses and how we can receive the outcomes bonuses again. But again, it's the students have to meet the two criteria. They're either going to earn the associate's degree or meet ACT, SAT, TSIA college readiness and enroll in a post-secondary readiness institution or post-secondary institution. Career ready, they either meet ACT, SAT, TSIA college readiness and earn an IBC, or they enlist in the U.S. Armed Forces. Questions?
Well, I'm just very happy that the charts show that they're looking at kids taking the SAT and the ACT, because I'm gonna say it, and I've said it before, at board meetings, previous superintendents, that just because we offer junior college courses does not mean that we should maybe indirectly discourage our kids from taking the SAT or ACT because they already got the hours because they went to junior college. I kept saying, well, they're not gonna stay with the rest of their lives in junior college. They're gonna go to a four-year university, and it would help a lot if they got good scores on the SAT and ACT. And that's, what is that test you give at the junior college or the PSI? I mean, I'm glad to point it out.
How many
So we have been pushing for the district to take all the seniors, put them in buses, take them to wherever they're having the test while they pay the fee before this exigency. Pay the fee and have them all take them, not just the SAT, but the ACT also.
How many students challenge the ACT and SAT?
We did offer, this year we didn't offer it because we didn't get the funds, but this last 2 years we did offer it to every senior, and technically every junior. We had 100 students that took the SAT, because it was a requirement for several of our students to pass.
The pre-SAT?
No, the real SAT. Because it's a requirement for the students who took algebra in 8th grade. But we did offer it to every student. Not this year, of course, due to funding, but the last 2 years before, we did offer it to every student.
I'm sure you guys have, I'm gonna straight out, how you offer it, how you approach the kids is very important. If you just say, go to the council, there's the bulletin board, then you look at it, get the number, call it, and sign up yourself, that is not.
No, sir, it was actually, we administer it on campus, with the, like I said, with the, at least
The real SAT and the ACT.
the real SAT.
Okay. Guys, I had two high school students in high school. I got one right now that's gonna be a senior next year. And I ask all those questions all the time.
Yeah, he would have taken it this year, but like I said, due to funding, we didn't have it for this year. But the last 2 years before, we did offer it.
Did he take it as a sophomore?
They
The pre?
They take it when they're junior. They take it their junior year.
He took a pre-SAT. And he scored over 1,000. I mean, and he was only a sophomore. So the opportunity for him, of course, being the grandpa, and this is personal too, that I pay everything else. Because I know how important those things are.
Miss, and are there grants or anything to fund these types of tests?
For economically disadvantaged.
Well, I mean, I think.
And fund certain, yeah,
But I guess
not,
how Mr. Bonilla is saying, I mean, we don't have the funds, but are there mechanisms to reimburse us, reimburse students or anything?
I know that there is, I know that for CTE, for the IBC assessments, there is a reimbursement. If we use federal grants, I can look into it, but if it was paid out of local funds this previous year, then we can't pay you, we can't use federal grants for that. But if it's a test that we've never used local grants, local funds to pay for, I can find a way to see if I can word it a certain way to get it paid for. But it would only be for economically disadvantaged, our McKinney-Vento students, our bilingual students, our special education students. We can find a way to fund for them, for those populations. But for our non-economically disadvantaged students, we probably wouldn't be able to.
So I just want to share some preliminary number, actually actual numbers. Spring of 2024, we had 26 students that either received an AA or a certificate. Spring 25, 33, and then spring of 26, 45. So that's not including students who have received 9 credit hours and passed the TSI. That's another funding outcome. So we still have a number, and that's not including students who went to the military. That's another funding outcome.
I understand.
That's just something that we need, that
Ms. Hamlet,
I'm
benefit us a lot.
CCMR.
I know
how much funding have we received from CCMRs? I mean,
not for the outcomes bonuses. We've been working on that for the past 3 years to get there, but again, it's 2 years behind.
but so from 2023 or 2024, I mean, we have students that graduate with dual credit hours. So you're saying we haven't received for any that have
Because we have to,
enrolled in school?
we have to meet the threshold. That's the other part of it, is that we have to meet the threshold.
Like 11% of the cohort has to register into a post-secondary school? How does the district track that on our end?
I know there's a way to track it, I just have not seen that before. I don't know, I know I've been told that it's either they get the data from the universities and they track the students that way. But I've never seen that side of it, not yet.
No, we're not meeting the threshold.
Because we don't have enough students that are both receiving an associate's degree and passing all of their TSI assessments, or they're not reaching level 1, level 2, and passing the TSI, ACT, or SAT. So we're working on that. I know that high school is working pretty hard on making sure that they encourage students to test, increasing their numbers of students that are testing on IBCs, so.
Because I know we have a lot of students that receive, certificates,
Yes.
associate's degrees. I would think a large percentage of those at least enroll the following semester to a post-secondary school. But the district doesn't track that? I mean, they don't have a list of everybody and?
I know we have to track it because it does come out in our taper report. I haven't seen that side of it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you how it's done. But I know they're tracked somehow because they show up in our taper report, so.
My goodness.
Is it's a good amount of money that we are not even projecting,
And lost
the
residents.
possibility of money that we
Part of
could
their-
get, right?
CCMR.
And I know that high school has been
Getting
working
different
on it.
certificates. They have a
Any
program
other questions?
where they work with.
Any other questions, miss?
That's where,
Questions, sir? Huh?
Hygienists.
Questions, ma'am? Questions?
No.
No? Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to item 6K, STAR and EMC.
Good evening, everyone. First, I just kind of want to commend all of our staff on our STAR scores this year. I kind of went back history and I was looking back when I first started in 2022 and the STAR scores that I presented at that time. And I think we were glad that we hit one grade level over 70 at that time. And now, if you look across the board, we have multiple grade levels, multiple campuses hitting 70%. And I just kind of wanted to bring that to kind of highlight like how far we've grown these last 4 years. Whether it was, the leadership in the classroom, the leadership here at the district level, all of that really kind of just pushed us to where we are today. And I'm really excited to share these scores with you today. We're gonna start off with Lorenzo de Zavala. And the way that we read this report, I know I've given it to you before, we have the darker colors are this year's, the lighter colors are the previous years, and it is the one that I provided separately. Because the one in the board, when I had it for the board, it wasn't, the scores weren't released yet, so. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with grade 3 math. We saw a 5% increase to 77% at approaches, 56% at meets, and 28% at masters. For grade 3 reading, we saw an increase of 3% to 72%, to 55% at meets, and 20% at masters. Those are some great scores that we saw at Zavala. Moving into Benito Juarez, we were expecting this specific subject and grade level. We had been tracking it all year. Grade 4 math, we did see a dip of 11 points to 47% approaches. Meet stayed the same at about 27, and we saw a little dip in masters, 10%. For grade 4 reading, we stayed the same at 70%. Meets, we increased to 5%, 5% to 35. And we increased our masters by 11 to 13%. Grade 5 math, we increased 17% to 71%. We increased, sorry, I can't read my own handwriting, 10% to 37% at meets, and we increased 2% at 12% at masters. Grade 5 reading, we increased 23% to 77%. At approaches, 35, we increased meets from 35 to 52, an increase of 17%. And then we saw an increase of 12% at masters at 20% for grade 5 reading. You can see grade 5 science is blank. The reason grade 5 science is blank is because TEA is barely at this time meeting on, I believe it's June 15th, to set the standards for the performance standards for the grade 5 and the grade 8 science tests. So that's why they're blank as of right now. We have a zone of uncertainty. So we have a little bit of uncertainty where they're actually going to fall. So once we get those scores, we'll come and present those to you once they're a little bit more finalized. We get to fly, and these are the two grade levels that we kind of saw some struggling. The two biggest struggles that we saw. We have in grade 6 math, we dropped 3% to 47% at approaches, 15% at meets, and 3% at masters. Grade 6 reading, we saw a dip of 8%, 50% approaches, 2%, a dip of 2% to 34% at meets, and 11% at masters. Grade 7, this is we have a big drop. I don't know what to say. I don't know if Ms. Bermean can speak on that. I wasn't in the classroom, so I don't know what happened there, but we did see a really big drop in grade 7 math to 16%. And that's really gonna hurt us. In all honesty, it's gonna hurt us when it comes to accountability. 4% at meets and 0% at masters. Grade 7, we saw a drop of 11% at 56% approaches, to 37% at meets and 11% at masters. Algebra, the 22 kids that took algebra, we had 100% at approaches, 91% at meets, and of those 91, 68% were at masters with one perfect score. And we had grade 8 math, we had increase of 10% to 73% at approaches, stayed the same at 35% at meets, and 3% at masters. Grade 8 reading, we saw great improvement here. That teacher, she's rocking and rolling. She's at 81% at approaches. I don't think I've ever reported an 80% in reading or math. So that's a really good increase there. We saw a 47% at meets and 20% at masters. Again, same thing with grade 8 science. It falls in that same category as grade 5 science. Grade 8 social studies, we saw a little bit of a decrease of 53%. We saw an increase of meets, and we saw an increase of masters as well as 13%.
I have a question, sir. The 8th grade reading teacher in 2025, the same one that taught the 2026?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. That's a good comparison.
Yes, sir.
But remember I mentioned before about tracking classes or groups? And yeah, I was surprised with the 7th grade math this spring compared to how they did in 2025, that group, when they were 6th graders.
They have that.
All the rest, as I draw the arrows, I see improvements for the most part. So that's why I say that's the way we should compare, not the class of 25 to the class of 26, they're totally different kids. Okay, if really, they look at the teachers, see what strategies that teacher's using to help the kids maintain that level or keep, raise them higher.
Yeah, definitely, sir. And so, so this report is really for more of a domain one, kind of our accountability. Hopefully by next week, I believe on the 15th, we should have all of our growth scores in, and that's where we'll be able to actually measure how well the kids have grown from last year to this year. Whether, if they were at approaches this year, did they end up at meets this year? Did they end up at masters, or were they did not meet and end up at approaches? So we'll be able to definitely track that for you. And I know we'll be presenting that growth report to you once we get it. Right now, we're still in the preliminary stages and we haven't gotten the full reports. But once we get everything, I know we'll definitely share that with you.
The ones that will really appreciate the kind of information of the parents of those kids.
Yes.
So they can actually see how their children are doing from year to year.
Yes, sir, and I actually have a call out going out to the parents on the 5th for the high schoolers and on the 14th for the elementary kids. It's already planned, and there's going to be so that way they can actually access their scores for their students on the texasassessments.gov. Okay, and then we're at Crystal City High School. Not that I have a favorite campus, but but they really rocked it. At Crystal City High School, we had Algebra 1. They were at 82% at approaches, 30% at meets, and 4% at masters. English 1, we grew 8% to 66%, 44% at meets, 5% at masters. English 2, 61% at approaches, 44% at meets, 2% at masters. U.S. History, we're at 94% approaches, 49% at meets, 14% at masters. Biology, we were at 96% approaches, 59% meets, and 8% at masters. And this is first-time testers. So these scores, this is all testers. So these are all of our retesters included in here as well. So the numbers did increase a little bit once we took out those retesters and put them solely as first-time testers. I don't have the exact numbers because when we get reports, it's everybody all together. I believe it was like 89, 80, 80, 96, and 98% when it came to actually, once we took those first-time testers.
Did really well in algebra. Was that the same instructor also, or was it a different instructor?
That's a different instructor. I believe it was a different instructor from last year.
I mean, all over. I mean, the whole campus is.
Was biology teacher you?
Yes. Yes.
And most of the social studies?
Yes, sir. Yes, he's a history test.
Scores.
Yes, they were really good.
Biology?
Yes, they did really well. I knew they were, but when they walked out, I was like, when I got the scores, I was really proud of them. They did really well.
Sir.
Good job.
Questions or?
Overall?
Yes.
Yeah, overall, I guess all the students have, shown a lot of improvement and, moving on. So the teachers have been working hard and the districts have been working hard. When I see this, it's just like everybody's working hard and everybody's doing things, but yet we still continue making, some decisions, national decisions that are not the greatest, right? Everybody's working and you guys are doing great jobs and can't be financially stable.
Thank you, Manny.
I just have one final question. When will we get the rate report for the district?
Right now, I believe it'll be in August. Typically when we get it, I have run preliminaries already for domain 1 and domain 2B. I don't want to share. Once we get a little bit closer and a little bit more confident, but it's looking good, I'll say that.
The agency's required to have the reports out by August 8th.
Okay.
It'll be our August 10th board meeting.
Right before school starts.
Yeah, well, that's somewhat strategic on the other end, but, okay.
So item 6L,
Okay, so this is me. So you have this in a handout. This is a late document that didn't get in the board packet. Absent last week. All right, so let me explain additional days, school year. So Conservator Hines talking with the principals, and then he and I have been discussing, how can we improve academics and academic outcomes? Well, part of that's having more days of school and not less days of school. And then how do we fund summer school? So someone asked me about summer school and why we don't have summer school this summer, and it's because we don't have any money to fund summer school. Now, this is one of the commissioner's big initiatives that he's been pushing for the last several years. So if a school district has 175 days of instruction, not minutes, not minutes in school years, but actual school days, qualify for funding for up to additional 30 days of school in pre-K through 8, so the month of June, be funded by the state. Now, let me put an asterisk by what funding means. That means paying the teachers. Okay, it doesn't pay for instructional aides, secretaries, principals, or any other school campus staff. It's just for the teachers. So luckily, I took the currently adopted calendar, which is in this packet also, and kept the very same start date, the very same end date, graduation date, same holidays, and plucked out all the staff development days and teacher work days that are sprinkled out throughout the school year. And I was able to get exactly 175 days of instruction. So while this isn't an action item tonight, I'd like to make an action item at the July board meeting, because for the teachers, they'll have more instructional time with the kids. Their number of days that they had to work doesn't change. For the students and the parents, their first day of school, their last day of school, the holidays are all the same. So really, there isn't any changes, except the students will have fewer days out of school while the teachers are in teacher prep or teacher work days, if that makes sense. So the start time of the school day is still 7:45, the end of the day is still 3:30. So a fringe benefit of this, by having actually more instructional days, we build up more instructional minutes. So we're required to have 75,600 minutes minimally to be fully funded by the state, fully funded with an asterisk by ADA, okay? Now, by having more minutes, this gives us built-in days where if we have to call school because of bad weather, and I don't know if y'all watch El Nino, they're talking about this, El Nino is gonna be a big event this winter, so we might have another freak snowstorm or something like that. We'll have approximately 10 equivalent days worth of minutes built into this new calendar. So if we had some type of mass flu outbreak where we have to cancel school, or we have weather or whatever, our fortunate situation in minutes is that would be also taken care of with this calendar, where we didn't have that in the old calendar. So it just makes sense to us. I hope it makes sense to you all as a board, that this more instructional days means stronger student outcomes, and also qualifies us for funding for summer school for pre-K through 8th grade.
If there's no change in the beginning date and the ending date, I don't see any problems at all with the kids.
Yeah, and this district doesn't have a district of innovation plan where most districts do, so that a lot of the school districts in the area start school much earlier than what Crystal City does. So Crystal City has to abide by the statute, which is the 4th Monday in August is the first day of instruction. I mean, it's not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just, it's the way it is. So we're following statute here by starting school on the 4th Monday in August. And we're finishing by Memorial Day weekend. The only downside is to get the teachers their 187th day, they had to come back to work on Memorial Day. That's the only stinky thing of the whole calendar. And I don't know, maybe something will come to me that I can find a way to change that, but we can't. This is what, so this calendar, it's real plain looking because I was sick. So I just didn't mess with this until Sunday, yesterday. And so this is your current adopted calendar for next year. So I'll dress this one all up nice and pretty with javelina stuff by next board meeting.
The proposed
So
one?
that was
No,
just,
this is the proposed one. This is the currently adopted one. The colored one with javelinas on it is the adopted calendar.
we were leaving money on the table as far as not having enough data, not having the minimum data, as far as funding the summer.
Currently, no, we're not leaving any money on the table because we have 167 days of instruction. You got to have 175 to get the money. So by having all these PD days and teacher work days, yeah, you didn't qualify for that. But a lot of schools don't have 175 days of school, to be honest. You know, there's a lot of schools that have 4-day weeks. They don't qualify automatically because of that
So
reason.
MLK Day on January 18th is no longer the day off.
Well, I had it on my original calendar, but then I didn't have
Sit over here.
the Spinach Festival Day off. And I got told this morning, no, we gotta have the Spinach Festival Day off, so I had to steal a day somewhere. So, I mean, y'all tell me, we just have to,
I don't know which one I'm for.
no, I didn't understand Spinach Day until
I
today.
think there's gonna be one.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so that November 2nd date on my original draft was not a holiday, and I had MLK as a holiday. So it's debatable. I just need direction from the board if you want.
This is
want
an
to do
action
it.
item, right?
No, it is a information only, action next month.
Gotcha.
Attendance is not two-way no on that day.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard, I guess it's kind of like the equivalent of the Battle of Flowers Day off in San Antonio schools.
That's exactly what it is. Nah, they like,
So we're on grants next.
oh, yes, grants, item 16.
Sarah, you're back on deck.
I don't have a presentation, but what you have on page 82 is a notice of grant award, the NOGA for the LASSO grant, the learning opportunities, learning accelerations, supports and opportunities, LASSO Cycle 4. We received it for the Leadership and Instructional Foundations for Texas and the LIFT, which is LIFT, and the LIFT add-on for school improvement PLCs. The first part, we received $423,000, and the second part, we received $120,000. Those amounts they're specifically designated. If you look on page 83, which is the program budget of the actual application, the amounts have to be spent a certain way. So if you look at the bottom part where it says budget summary, 126,900 had to go to payroll cost, and 296,100 had to go to professional and contracted services. It had to be divided up between the 70% and 30%. On the LIFT add-on for school improvement PLC, it had to be 50-50, 60,000 on payroll cost and 60,000 on professional and contracted services. If you look on page 84, this is, we had to sign up with a LIFT provider, LIFT approved provider, and we selected Region 20. We are working with Region 20's school improvement and curriculum instruction component, and we're working, it's pretty much for 3 years. The LIFT year 1, K-5 math, that's where Bluebonnet comes in. We will work on, we've already worked on the school systems needs assessment. We are working on a 3-year action plan. We're working on customized support coaching, PLCs, observation feedback cycles, professional development, modeling, shoulder-to-shoulder peer speech, and data meetings. All of that is going to cost us $296,100. And the Lift Year One PLC add-on, K through 5 math, again for the Bluebonnet. We have customized support coaching, PLCs, observation feedback cycles, professional development, modeling, shoulder-to-shoulder peer teach, and data meetings. That's also going to cost us $60,000. Do we have any questions on that?
Do we have to pay Rich and Tony?
Yes.
We get 70% of the grant
Yeah.
for providing,
70%?
and the rest comes to us that we can put into personnel, materials, that kind of thing.
How do you choose in using, or what, using K through 5 math and not reading?
We went by what needed to be targeted first, which was math. At the time, when looking at Benito Juarez, especially the 4th grade math, we were struggling. 5th grade at the time, 5th grade math was, when we selected the Bluebonnet math portion, 5th grade math was still not up to par. Their scores came out pretty good. But we went with math first because we knew that if we got math aligned first, then it would be easier to get the reading.
Even though nowadays, I guess the math portion of the STAR test is, a large percentage of it is reading and understanding the problem. Now, if a student can't, or, having issues reading, they may not be able to clearly interpret the math portion of it. I mean,
The reading scores had always shown some promise, the math had not.
And across Texas, it is lagging behind reading.
could it be because of the reading? The reading increment, I don't know.
Reading scores tend to be higher, so it's more understanding than the computational part of it.
Any other questions?
I don't have any more questions. Anybody have questions?
Compensation plan.
On to item 7A. Discussion action to approve Zavala County Appraisal District preliminary budget for 26. Mr. Rudy, have anything to add to that?
No, it's my recommendation that the board reject the budget.
A motion to approve the Zavala Appraisal District preliminary budget for 26-27.
To approve?
Do you have a second?
Is that to approve it?
Yes. Do you have a second?
I thought we said we're gonna,
Jack,
I mean, he made a motion.
you get another motion.
He's making a motion to approve.
You can make an alternate motion.
I'll make an alternate motion that,
The second one?
Yeah, did I get a second? No second, motion dies. Do you have an alternate motion?
I think, the real, recommended that they take it back and then make changes and bring it back.
So your motion is to deny the
Night.
the Zavala County Appraisal District preliminary budget.
So we're gonna make,
By Mr. Ray Espinosa, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Peggy Young. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 601. Item 7B, discussion and action to approve the 2026-2027 employee compensation plan.
Good night, school board. Before you, you have the compensation plan. For the most part, we are introducing a pay freeze. So when you look at the compensation plan, the pay scales from AP all the way to CP and TM, pretty much the first 20 pages are all the same. The pay scales are gonna stay the same as they are this year. There is no step increase to the staff or any staff member for the district. When you get towards the back, I'm sorry, but the plans don't have an actual page. We do have a change to our stipend pay. This is towards
Don't have page there.
115 on our packet.
for you all.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's page 115 on our packet.
115.
Page 115 in your board packet. If you see that, we are proposing a 50% reduction to all stipends, extra duty stipends,
2%,
50%.
50%.
50%. Another change, a couple of pages down, substitute pay,
120.
on page 120, I'm sorry.
Yes, 120.
On page 120, we are reducing substitute pay.
How much did it go down? I don't remember last year's.
$15.
$15. And the,
125,
excuse me,
not the proposed pay, I guess, rate of pay, the long-term substitute degreed, non-certified, you said on page 120?
Yes.
25.
yes, sir, 125. And on the second to the last page of the compensation plan, this is a big change. Even though it's in small lettering towards the end, we are proposing a reduction to our employer contribution to our health insurance. Currently, the district pays $779 per month towards our employee employer contribution for the insurance, and we are proposing a reduction all the way to $225 per month towards the insurance. I know that we did get a request to show a couple of samples as to how this would affect different employees with the projected reductions. So example here, you have an employee that's either from 0 to 4 years, just to keep it anonymous, and the employee's gross pay is $2,265.58. Total deductions that this employee has is $394. They currently pay $0 for insurance because of the employer contribution. Their net pay normally is, they take home $1,870 after deductions. With the proposed changes to the employee plan, the employee gross pay is still the same, $2,265.58. However, they're going to see an increase in their insurance of $277.38. So with the current deductions, you add the $277, they're going to have a deduction total of $672.32. With their net pay, you'll see that it gets reduced to $1,593.26.
Robert, what about I'm curious to see, where are the employees that claim, they get the first one, the first option, which is?
This is it, this is the first option.
That's it.
And they
Just the
normally don't pay
employee,
insurance, but now, because we're taking away the employee contribution,
500.
they're gonna see a raise of $277.38. Yes, sir.
It's for all employees across the board.
Pretty much, they're gonna see a $277.38 increase to their insurance pay. So they're gonna have to pay, yes, sir.
What do you,
But for all employees.
what, in the past, I mean, we had a husband and wife working,
I'm gonna get there, sir. I'm gonna show different examples. So if we go to the next, I'm sorry. So the difference per paycheck is $277.38 per month. This employee will see an increase or decrease in their pay of $554.76. So that's the effect per month. And then we go to the next slide. So another one is because we're also reducing coaching stipends by 50%. So this employee, he coaches 4 sports, or he or she coaches for sports, which is very common at our district. So the gross pay, he normally goes with $2,687.21. Supplemental pay, his stipends that is added to his paycheck, he normally gets, out of those 4 coaching stipends, he gets $696.41. So total gross, but at the end of the month, at the end of the pay period, I'm sorry, is $3,383.62. This employee's deductions are normally $13.22 He pays $396 for insurance. So net pay, he normally takes home $2,060 every paycheck, right? So with the proposed reduction, now he has the same gross pay, but his stipends go down to $347. So now his gross pay is $3,034.41. His deductions rose to $1,599 because of the reduction with the increase of his insurance. So his net pay now, he'll see a $1,442. That's a difference of $26 per paycheck, or per month, he'll see $1,252 less.
So they'd be paying $1,252 for insurance.
Not necessarily, this is including the decrease in his stipends.
On a per month, huh?
The decrease in the stipends.
In the stipends.
Mr.
So
Grill,
you're gonna increase his insurance by $277, and he's gonna lose around $396 because of his reduction in stipend.
every 2 weeks,
Yes, every 2 weeks it's $626.
you have mentioned something about recommending that we don't pay every 2 weeks, that we pay monthly. Have you decided on that, or?
So Region 20 needed to have an answer before this board meeting, and we couldn't get that to the board and adopt it before.
It's gonna be the same.
So it's gonna have to wait until next school year.
Mr. Grill, are we gonna go to TRS insurance?
So we looked into that. We missed the enrollment date. It had to be done back early this winter, like in January. So we can't enroll until January of '27. And so what we did do is we had a meeting with the broker for this insurance. Higginbotham is the name of the broker. And they call this a rich insurance plan. It has a very low deductible and a very low copay. And I said, well, we're gonna go look for somebody else for insurance because your insurance is too high. And he said, no, we can get you an insurance that's comparable in price to TRS. It's just, it's not gonna pay like the insurance that the employees have enjoyed so far. So I fully expect by the July board meeting that we'll be bringing a different insurance plan to the board, which will greatly decrease this out-of-pocket expense.
Okay.
But it's not gonna be, it won't have as low of a deductible and low copays.
Okay.
So I feel pretty confident that we're gonna be able to make this situation better. But how much better, I can't say today, but the TRS Active Care employee only is $500 a month, and this is $780 a month. So it's quite a bit of difference in cost.
So again, this is an employee with 10 years or through 15 years. It has no stipends. However, they have the first payment or first premium for insurance plan. Again, pretty much the same thing. They'll see a $277 increase per paycheck and a $554 increase per month that they'll have to pay towards insurance, which is a net pay difference. Again, an employee, 20 to 25 years with 2 stipends. Same thing, they'll have a reduction in their stipend from $416 to 208, and they'll pay an extra $277 for insurance. So the difference in this person's paycheck would be $485.71 per paycheck, or $971 less a month. And then finally, this is the 30-year employee, no stipends. Again, so it kind of fluctuates whether you're in what plan you're in. Again, this employee will see $277 because they have no stipends and they don't pay towards the insurance, and $554 extra per month. And that's when this is the family one. So, and I'll be honest, this is me. So this is a 20-year employee, pays for family and employee and spouse. This is what the person takes home. We normally pay $354 for insurance. However, because they take the spouse, both spouse employees, and pay $779 for each, that is going to increase from $354. And the deductions will increase by all the way up to $1,443. So this person's net pay will go from $1,673 to $1,119. That's a difference per paycheck of $554. Per month, we are losing $1,109.52.
What's the total savings for the different?
So currently, per employee $779 per pay period. We pay approximately $84,462.76 per year. We pay $2,207,106.24. So the proposed reduction to 225, we pay $23,287 per pay period, $558 $900 per year, savings of $1,486,206.
And that's just from the reduction in?
That's for the reduction in insurance. Can you go to the next one? So again, also estimated savings due to reduction in force and pay freeze. We had a reduction in force of 65 employees, and we are not increasing the pay step. So next year's projected savings is $2,557,097.54. Next one. With the coaching stipends, this is going to be a little bit different, and I'm just showing you this because that's what we have on paper, but I know that we also reduced the amount of coaches that we're going to allow to coach, and there was talks today at our principals meeting about also possibly reducing the amount of sports that they get to coach throughout the year based on scores and stuff like that. So right now we're paying $310,000 in coaching. If we reduce it by 50%, and it's different coaching stipends and everything that fits in there. So it's $175,000 with $500, a saving of $134,000. Again, these projections are only with our current insurance through Higginbotham. We haven't gone out for new bids. And we, like Mr. Grill said, we missed our deadline to go with our TRS Active Care. So these projections are based as if we do not change anything in this thing with Higginbotham, and our premiums do not change.
And the stipend reduction of 50% across the board, right?
Yes, sir.
I know you only mentioned coaching, but I mean, it's, you know, adjunct professors, dual credit, band directors.
Yes, sir.
Everybody.
Yes, sir.
As well as the TCOL Master Certified.
Everybody, yes.
Does anybody have questions? I mean,
No, I was struggling with that, but for Mr. Grill's explanation in closed session, I understand.
Yeah. It stinks. This whole thing stinks. And we'll lose some employees because of it. But the alternative is we don't have money to cover our budget next year. I don't think the budget will cover if we don't stick to this compensation. I am meeting with all the staff tomorrow. Sent out an email to the principals and everybody for a 1:30 meeting. The principals changed that to 1:30 from the 2 o'clock that we discussed this morning. Okay, so anyhow, the point is I'm gonna try to go over some of this tomorrow to help everybody understand that this is just hopefully a one-year plan. It's easy for me to say 1 year and not be here a year from now but I'd like to think the Vader's gonna pass and the Vader's gonna be the solution. As long as y'all don't start re-employing a bunch of people, you can unfreeze the salaries and maybe bump the health insurance up some, all the way back up to the total amount. And bring the stipends back up.
Any other questions? I know.
So this will be an action item.
Right now, yes, yeah, it's an action item. You have a motion to, does anybody have questions for, no, you're good?
Thank you very much.
What's the recommendation of the district, Mr. Grove?
To accept the compensation plan as it's presented.
Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve the 2026-2027 employee compensation plan.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
7-0.
Item 7C, discussion and action to approve the liquidation of surplus equipment.
Okay, because here he can answer any questions if we have any. We have a number of old buses and general junk over there in the transportation yard that we want to liquidate. Their actual board policy gives the superintendent that authority, but since this is the time and I'm interim, I'm seeking board approval.
And I guess that'd be just listing it for sale, or is it just auction type deal, or?
So we'll maybe put an ad in the paper that we're having an auction. People just come in, it's a silent bid is what I perceive doing. People write down how much they're offering on lot A, and then we accept that bid. If we don't get any bids, then we might be taking it to the pick and pull, a prior maybe, or to a metal recycler if it's just metal junk. Tico, do you have anything to add to that?
We also have the white fleet, some white fleet that we need to get rid of. They're very old, engines are shut out, so we need to get rid of those vehicles.
Again, we'll try to get what we can get. It's probably not gonna be much of a moneymaker, but at least we can get some junk out of our possession.
Okay. Guess the recommendation of the district is?
To approve the liquidation of surplus.
So move.
By Mr. Bonilla, second? Second. Second by Mr. Espinosa. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We already moved on to, we already took action on item 7D.
We just have the,
So we'll just move to item 9A. Discussion and consideration, possible action regarding authority for designated members of the board, superintendent, and legal counsel to participate in mediation and negotiate a potential settlement of pending litigation in Crystal City Independent School District versus Bartlett General Contractors LLC. Case number 01-25-000-23668 and related construction defects, issues with Kansas City High School, Sarah next by Junior High, Benito Juarez Middle School, and matters related thereto. We have a motion?
I motion to authorize district legal counsel, interim superintendent, and board members to attend the mediation in the matter of CCISD versus Bartlett and Cobb. ETL case 0-25-002-3668, American Arbitration Association, and negotiate settlement under the terms discussed in closed session and authorize execution of settlement documents as necessary.
Do I have a second? Any discussion?
Do we need to name the three board members?
You said we didn't need to name the exact board members, you can get back to them at a later time.
But, for sure, it's gonna be you, Ray,
I'm not,
No,
I'm not ready to go into that one.
I think we can name the actual board members at a later time. I know Mr. Grill and, you know, I've already committed.
I know, Mr.
I'll get back to you.
Board member.
You mean, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. You know, Mr. Houston.
Okay, don't know.
So we have a motion, second. We had a discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item 9B, consideration to approve Crystal City ISD school safety audit for 2023 as discussed in closed session. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item 9C, consideration to authorize superintendent search as per the terms defined in closed session.
So move.
Motion made by Mr. Bonilla, second. Second. Mr. Espinosa. Any discussion?
Second.
Mr. Gabriel Espinosa. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You have something to say? Oh, you're asking about 6, well, we had moved the,
Was the word information?
that's the Mo Casey one, right? We had moved it, yes, we took action.
Meeting.
Now, adjournment, do you have a motion?
Oh,
Motion made by Mr. Bonilla. Second. Discussion, all in favor? All opposed, motion carries 7-0.
All right, board members, you have a